Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're going to learn all about XDefiant Season 1 coming in on July 2nd. We have a bunch of things to go over, including a new faction, new maps, new modes, new weapons, basically all the things Battlefield 2042 doesn't really give us. On top of the actual content, we have some changes that are already in the game that are sparking some controversy. One of them is a movement nerf, and the other one is a sniper flinch edition. I do have to say, watching the community's reaction to both the movement and the sniper nerfs have been very similar to watching two chimpanzees throw their own feces at each other, because this game is so similar to Call of Duty. Unfortunately, it has brought in a lot of the Call of Duty 12-year-olds, or basically people that have the mental age of 12-year-olds, and no one can really have a conversation about any of these things. So I'm going to try to accomplish that very thing. We're going to have a conversation about these changes in this video. And if you like hearing or participating in real conversations about all of these modern FPS games, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel, because that is essentially all we do on this channel. Everything Call of Duty, Battlefield, XDefiant, you will find it on this channel. I also stream every single day at twitch.tv/enders and YouTube at the very same time. Be sure to turn notifications on to know when I go live. I suppose I'll get the discussion about the movement nerf and the sniper nerf out of the way. The sniper nerf was fairly straightforward. They've just added flinch to snipers. This was extremely needed in my opinion. Sniping in this game, I know this is going to be a controversial opinion, is simply too easy. The TAC 50 is incredibly easy to one-shot people, and snipers not having flinch, which flinch is a very basic mechanic to put in really any video game, that was just a massive problem. So I do think the addition of flinch is totally fine. Snipers are still very strong, and you can still do very well with them. As far as the movement nerf, on paper it sounds worse than it is in-game. It's essentially just to combat people jumping like 17 times in a row without any penalty. They added an aiming penalty for players that jump, I believe, 4 or more times in a row. This is totally fine. It doesn't really affect your gameplay, but you have to be worried because this is a slippery slope when it comes to movement nerfs. The community reaction to the movement nerfs has already been that it isn't enough. And with movement like XDefiant, we're not talking about things that are super crazy, okay? It's basically jumping and a little bit of air strafing with maybe a little crouching and strafing. It's very basic movement. If they were to nerf the jump penalty or add some sort of weird pause, it would generally just make the game feel worse. So they have to be very careful with how they go ahead with things. And one great example of how careful they have to be going ahead with any sort of movement nerfs is Battlefield 1. If you played Battlefield 1, you would know that they took Battlefield 1's slide mechanic and they essentially completely removed it from the game. They basically listened to bad players and they destroyed the movement of their game in doing so. So in a game like XDefiant, where the movement isn't necessarily that insane, you have to be very careful how far you go with it, and I just hope to see that they don't go crazy. Moving on to all of the XDefiant Season 1 news. Season 1 is coming out on July 2nd, and they're introducing a new faction, new maps, new weapons, and new modes. Basically, all the things that you would expect. I'm sure as we get closer to the release of Season 1, we will get much more details on all of this stuff, but we do have some glimpses into the new faction, as well as the new maps and modes. The new faction they are adding into XDefiant is a faction called G.SKILL. The ultimate ability of this faction appears to be a bit of a riot shield. This reminds me of Rainbow Six Siege. Anyone else? The G.SKILL faction shield appears to have a sort of a flashbang mechanic, so when you get close to someone you can flashbang them and presumably you can just bash them to death with your shield. I don't know about you guys, but I am totally tired and fed up with seeing shields in fast-paced FPS games. Generally speaking, I think you should reserve shields for games like exactly Rainbow Six Siege. And I know you won't be seeing this ability that often because it is an ultimate. However, I just still wish they weren't adding more shields to the game. Let me know how you think about that in the comments down below. As far as the new maps, they are called Clubhouse, Daytona, and Rockefeller. You can see little glimpses of them in this trailer that I put in the background. If you want to see a little glimpse and pause on it, maybe you can just pause the video. We really don't have much information about these maps. Again, I'm sure we'll get more information as we get closer to the release date of Season 1, but they look to be, fairly similar to the maps we're playing now, just with different layouts. Clubhouse looks to be pretty close quarters. Daytona is a racing-themed map, and Rockefeller appears to be staged in some sort of carnival. All in all, I do think XDefiant's maps are fairly decent overall, with a few maps that I would prefer not to play, but they're still not the worst maps I've ever seen in my entire life. Clubhouse looks fun, Daytona looks fun, Rockefeller, I will have to see how it plays when it comes out, because that looks particularly crowded, but obviously we haven't played it yet, so I could be wrong. And the last piece of information we have to talk about regarding Season 1 is the fact that they're adding a Capture the Flag mode to the game. I actually am a big fan of Capture the Flag in games if it's done correctly. I think XDefiant has potential to actually be a lot of fun in Capture the Flag, but I'm wondering how they're going to implement this. Do you think they're going to replace, say, Escort with Capture the Flag, or do you think this is going to be a seasonal game mode that only sticks around for the entirety of Season 1? I'll definitely be interested in seeing what's going on with that, but I think the biggest thing that I want from XDefiant is I want them to release their ranked mode. I know they're going to do it, but I think the ranked mode should have been ready to play from the very release of the game. I don't really understand this trial run they did, and I think XDefiant could really benefit from having its ranked mode be super popular right now. Because imagine if they had it ready at launch and it's actually good, then people have something to grind for. You know, you play the multiplayer to unlock the guns, then you go get your stack and play ranked. People could have already been grinding leaderboards by now, and generally speaking, I think you might have retained a lot of players just with having ranked in the game from the beginning in general. For a lot of people, including myself, I think XDefiant was missing a little something, and I do hope ranked fills that void. Because I think for a lot of people, they're playing XDefiant not because they like XDefiant, but because XDefiant is doing things that Call of Duty refuses to do, such as, you know, input-based matchmaking, making aim assist slightly weaker, even though it's still strong, and of course, there being no skill-based matchmaking. So I do think that XDefiant does need that little oomph just to make sure that it keeps itself where it is right now. Or else I think you could see the game die off fairly heavily. It won't die completely, obviously, because it's free to play, but, you know, it has big competition coming up. It has Call of Duty Black Ops 6, which actually caught me completely off guard. I already made a video about that. That game looks strangely decent for a Call of Duty game, and I honestly couldn't believe I was saying that. It's still going to be ruined by skill-based matchmaking and all that, but, you know, just the things that they're re-adding into Call of Duty really sort of surprised me. I didn't expect it to look as good as it did. So certainly interesting times in the FPS scene as of right now. As far as upcoming things, I'm going to make a video on the final Season 3. I haven't played the finals since the first day of Season 2, and I've essentially completely ignored the game because I don't really think it's going anywhere. So I'm going to revisit the finals, and then, of course, anything to do with Delta Force Hawk Ops. They have a playtest in July next month. I'm going to play that. Playing some Battlefield 1. And for those of you wondering about the Battlefield 2042 definitive review, I am chipping away at it, and I'm making very good progress. It's going to release, I'd say, hopefully within the next 7 to 10 days, tentatively, okay? So if you enjoyed the channel, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. I stream every single day at twitch.tv/enders and this YouTube channel at the very same time. I do multi-stream. Be sure to join the Discord, follow me on Twitter and Instagram. All links are in the description. Thank you guys so much for watching, and comment down below your thoughts about all of this stuff. I will see you guys in the next one.
If you could use the slides in this game, it would be the most fun part of the game.